Hi, my name is Jordan Olson. Today we're going to be talking about ethics in auditing. Due to the recent and significant fraud cases that have transpired before us, the auditing profession has been plagued with this negative perception about auditors and their unethical behaviors. First, we're gonna look at three areas. First is going to be the individual ethics, then ethics in auditing, and then the impact of ethics in the auditing profession. So, as individuals, I personally believe that ethics is something that we as individuals need to commit to in essence, make a vow of ethics, if you will. But in order to do that, we need to understand what ethics is. If we take a look at Webster's dictionary, it defines ethics as a rule of behaviors based on ideas about what is morally good and morally bad. So how do we develop this internal commitment to ethics? I personally believe it's through child development, as we're growing and being taught what is correct behavior. And then we take and establish our personal ethical values based on what we have been taught in our childhood. In an article titled "The Responsibilities of Accountants" by Duska in 2005, he states, "Our general principle would be that to be ethical, a person has a responsibility to fulfill one's role or roles, as long as that role or roles are in conformity with acceptable goals of human life." He defines human life as what we mean by acceptable goals for human life are those that lead to societies where there are good, fairly distributed, which contributed to the quality of life in a way that allows as many people as possible to live fulfilled, abundant, and flourishing lives. So when we're developing ethics, it's a little hard to put into perspective the importance of ethics as we're growing up. But as we continue in adulthood, I think it's important for us to understand what it is, and that is to fulfill, as it said in his article, to fulfill abundant and flourishing lives. So it's not only ours personally, but to assist those around us as well. So, as mentioned, I feel like individual ethics is a basis for us as auditors. We need to acquire this ethics to internally commit and to not be persuaded to abandon our values of ethical behaviors. So ethics in auditing. Ethics, an article by Sativa called "Ethics in Auditing Culture, Rethinking the Foundation of Accounting and Auditing." It states, "The investing public has historically relied upon audited financial statements when making investment decisions and has depended upon auditors in the accounting profession to confirm the accuracy and completeness of financial information." So that, in essence, is why it's so important for auditors to develop and commit to ethical behavior. There's so many people in the investing world that rely on audited financial statements, and they rely on an ethical and a fairly stated financial statements from the auditing profession. Due to the significance of people relying on our audited financial statements and the investment that people make, it's crucial for us as auditors to act ethically, no matter what circumstances we encounter. So, if auditors can develop ethics individually, and then those individuals that are in the auditing profession have that ethics, it's going to have a huge impact on the profession to get us to not be perceived as an unethical profession. The next step is the impact ethics on the profession. in an article by Campbell and Houghton titled Ethics in Auditing. It mentions that the biggest challenge ahead for auditors is to identify how ethical behavior can be and be seen to be restored, as it is that will be the basis of the reconstruction of public trust in the profession and in the practice of auditing. So that's the biggest challenge is for us, is to identify how ethical behavior can be restored to the profession, as I've mentioned before. So if we, as a profession, can develop individual ethics or incorporate individuals outside of the profession to develop ethics, then our profession as a whole will be able to shred that negative perception about our ethical behaviors. Just as a conclusion, it's not only the ethics in the auditors that's important, but it's also ethics in the companies that we accept as clients. Because for not personal experience per se, but from reading articles, I've never really read an article where it was the auditor who instigated or initiated the fraud case. It's usually the management of the company, the entity, that the auditors are auditing. So if an auditing profession can weed out these unethical management teams, then our perception as a whole will benefit drastically. All of us have gone through life hearing about ethics, why it's so important. We've been forced to take classes. We've been reprimanded by others for maybe unethical behaviors we've performed. But we all know what ethics is, but have we all, or any of us, made a vow of ethics, if you will? Have we internally committed to this ethical behavior, to be ethical? As an auditing profession, we have a huge hill to climb. Unless us as individuals in the profession develop ethics, we're not going to make it to the summit. So ethics in the auditing is important. It's the only way we're going to shred the negative perception we have on us. And I encourage each of you to develop ethics, no matter what profession, but especially auditors.